Every trading day, thousands of public companies compete for investors' attention. Finding opportunity within that complexity requires more than intuition. It requires disciplined research. Amas transforms vast amounts of financial data into transparent, AI-assisted investment research designed to help investors make more informed decisions. Explore top 100 rankings, evaluate individual companies, compare historical datasets, simulate portfolios, and understand the quantitative drivers behind every result. Because better investment decisions begin with better research, and better research begins with data that is transparent, explainable, and continuously evolving. Introducing Amas, American Market Analysis as a Service, AI-powered investment research, now live at amasanalytics.com.
Every founder and CEO I talk to has the same exact problem. There's just not enough hours in the day, in the week, the month, or even the year, really. And too much of the time that we have goes to things that could and should be automated. Hi, I'm Travis McBurney. I founded the McBurney Group, where we build custom AI solutions for your specific operations. We train your people how to use them and help you think clearly on where and how AI can help your business. The point just isn't just about saving time. It's also making sure your business can keep up with AI as AI changes, what competition even looks
Yeah,
like.
hi, Jenny.
Oh, hi, Sai. Thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast today.
It's an honor for me to present you on my podcast. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity uh, to present you.
Oh, no, that's great. Thank you. I'm fascinated by your background. I think you're in a coffee shop. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. And I've gone through a profile. I can see you have done some great work, and you're doing great work. You're making things happen. You're connecting to people, and you're connecting companies. You're raising funds. And I thought to tell about your work to my audience.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, what a fabulous opportunity. I'm really grateful for it. So I wear lots of hats, do all sorts of different things. So really, I describe myself as a journalist. So most of my career, I've been working as a journalist in the UK, in fact, in the Midlands region of the UK. So started off being a newspaper reporter for a weekly newspaper. Then we moved to a daily newspaper, and then moved into magazines. So was writing features for the sort of, I don't know if you have them, but in the UK they used to be quite popular, these sort of glossy tabletop lifestyle magazines. So I was writing for those, editing some of those for a while, again mostly in the Midlands and Wales, in the UK. So wonderful opportunity to interview lots of really fascinating people. So I'd often I'd be zipping around in my car, going out to see people, sometimes with a photographer, and doing these fabulous interviews about their lives. So all kinds of people, artists and people who set up businesses, people who've had some really extremely interesting life experiences, sometimes famous people. Every day was different as a journalist, which I absolutely loved. And then I left journalism during the pandemic. So in the UK, regional journalism really suffered during the pandemic. So it was the summer of 2020 that I stepped away from my role at a newspaper that I was working on at the time. Worked freelance for a year, working on magazines, etc. And then took up a role with something called Made in Stoke, which you won't have heard of, I'm sure, because it's a long way away. But that was all about a diaspora network, and I know diaspora networks happen right around the globe. So that was about finding people from Stoke-on-Trent, so using my journalism skills to track down fascinating people who'd been born in a city called Stoke-on-Trent in the middle of the UK, but were around the world. So sometimes they were in London, sometimes they were in America, that they could literally be anywhere, but generally doing really interesting things. So it could be, I don't know, CEOs of businesses or heads of banks, or there was one person who was an artist over in Las Vegas, painting incredible cinema scenes in cinemas in Las Vegas. Incredible people. So for a year, I was tracking down people, connecting them back to Stoke-on-Trent. And then after that, I joined the University of Staffordshire. So I've been here, gosh, it's about 4.5 years now, wearing lots of different hats, using my journalism skills, so communication skills, writing skills, network building skills. So that's a really key one for the university. I'm out and about, making friends with businesses, with interesting people, and then finding ways to make things happen or to plug them back into the university. And sorry if tell me if I'm talking too much, but I'll just keep going until you tell me to stop. And so a couple of key things that I do. I work on something called the University of Staffordshire Business Awards. So it's the 4th year we've done it, and I speak to hundreds of businesses every year based in Staffordshire, but sometimes they're people right around the globe. So they're maybe sometimes based in, I don't know, like Hong Kong or China or Pakistan or somewhere else around the globe, who have a connection to the university and might have set up a business. They're all really positive stories. So what I'm doing is I'm making connections, tracking down these people who are connected to business, telling their stories for them. So I interview them, I write an article, and then at the end of a sort of 6-month campaign, we have a judging day, have a big sort of celebratory event, and we really just shout about really, really amazing business success stories. Sometimes they're businesses that have huge turnovers, tens of millions plus turnovers with hundreds of staff. Sometimes they're startups. Sometimes they're very young business people. So one of our finalists this year, well, I'll tell you about a couple of our finalists this year. One of them is a business called Reliance Medical, which was founded by an alumnus of University of Staffordshire. He studied MBA with us. He founded it about 20 years ago, and it's global. It's the UK's biggest trade supplier of first aid kits. Does all kinds of incredible stuff with sending kits out to disaster zones. It's been eliminating plastic from medical kits. So it's doing great eco stuff, really worthy stuff. It has, as well as being based in Staffordshire, it has a factory in China. It has bases in Australia, in Hungary, and all around the world. So that's one of our businesses. And right down from that, we've got a 16-year-old girl who has set up her own business whilst being a student at a local college for us. Now, the really interesting part, she's very young, she's got a business, which is amazing. But the part that really fascinated me was that she didn't fit into mainstream education. So she left school. School didn't work for her. High school didn't work for her. At the age of about 13, was homeschooled for a little while, and then went to study at the college. She spent some time within a business, and she realised that ceramics were for her. She realised she could make a business out of it. So she set up her own business, set up her own little sort of pottery studio at home, has been making pots, has been selling pots, 16 now, has a business that's working, has something that makes her happy, has passed qualifications, and has actually been accepted very early at the age of 16 to study art and ceramics at a university in London. So incredible, again, an incredible success story, just on a different scale. So I get the fabulous job of being able to tell those stories for people. And then, as well as that, Sai, I work on something called the Your Heroes Awards. Now, we've been running that for about 20 years. A colleague of mine set that up 20 years ago, and I've had the pleasure of really organising it for about the last decade or so. Now, what we do with that is we champion unsung heroes. So if you're anywhere near LinkedIn or any social media, you'll see I'm really prolific, and I'm sorry, I tell lots of stories again through that. So during the course of 20 years, we've told thousands of stories about incredible people. Sometimes they're children of courage, they're community groups, they're carers, they're police, they're teachers, they're anybody in the community who's doing something incredible and selfless to help others, usually in a really quiet way. So it can be, sometimes these are really particularly moving stories about child carers. So we had one last year, a little girl, she was about 9 years old, and she's 9, she should be watching cartoons and playing playing with toys and out in, on her bike or something, but she's caring for her mum who's disabled. So a lot of her time is helping her mum to dress, helping her mum with medication, vacuuming around the house, doing the kinds of things you wouldn't want a 9-year-old to do. And what we were able to do was tell her story and give her a fabulous evening where we got her on stage, gave her prizes, and just told her how phenomenal she is and that the things she's doing are recognised. The story literally just yesterday that I was able to tell was a woman who's a foster carer. So she takes children into her home. Over the last 4 years, she's had about 10 different children that she's offered a home to. But the really, that's remarkable in itself. But the very new remarkable thing that she's done is she's on holiday. She's actually currently still on holiday. I spoke to her on the phone yesterday in her hotel in Tunisia. And while she's out there, she saved a life. So she was about to start an aqua aerobics class with her friend, and a little 2-year-old toddler fell into the pool and was dragged out of the pool, wasn't breathing. But because she's a foster carer, she's had first aid training. Now, the lifeguard was able to get the child out of the pool, but wasn't familiar with CPR. And this incredible woman, she was able to instruct the lifeguard on how to do chest compressions and how to give rescue breaths. 2-year-old child taken away in an ambulance, survived, and the family have obviously, incredibly grateful, have thanked her, and she's helped to save that child's life. But even this really staggered me, it blew me away, Sai, that when I spoke to her literally the day before on her holiday, a woman had an epileptic seizure, and she'd helped this woman on holiday, and she put her into the rescue position. She stayed with her until the seizure had passed. So she's not a medical professional, she's a foster carer. She was on holiday and trying to have a nice time. She's saving lives. So to be able to tell stories like that is a really powerful, special thing, and I consider myself really privileged to be able to do it.
So there will be a lot of entrepreneurs, founders, and chief executive officers, watching and listening to this conversation from anywhere on this planet, right? So they would love to listen or to know how these awards work.
Yeah, so the Your Heroes Awards, we do get some sponsorship in. We don't need very much sponsorship, and we all have all of that in place this year. So we have about 5 different businesses in Staffordshire that each give us a very, very tiny amount of money, and we use that to put on a really special evening. So we launch the Your Heroes campaign generally around about May time, and then over the course of the next few months we ask people to nominate unsung heroes within their life. It could be a child that they know, it could be their local post office, it could be the person in their post office who befriends elderly people and looks out for them and checks on them if they haven't been into the post office for a few days. It could be sometimes we've had police officers who've done incredibly brave things. A couple of years ago we had a couple of police officers, female police officers, who went to a domestic violence incident, and they were very badly beaten during that incident, but they were able to help somebody who was in a life-threatening situation. We were able to get those female police officers on stage and recognise them. We've had people who've we actually had one a couple of years ago, a delivery driver. So I think he was a delivery driver for a supermarket, and he, whilst on his rounds, spotted someone have a heart attack. So he pulled over, got out of his vehicle, gave life-saving first aid to the person who'd had a heart attack, and essentially saved his life. And what we were able to do, it was the most beautiful moment, was we recognised him. We had him on stage, we gave him a prize, but unbeknownst to him, we had the person whose life he saved hiding in a different room, and the award was actually presented to him by the person whose life he'd saved. It was towards the end of the evening. It was incredibly moving. People cried. The 2 chaps cried. The person who'd saved the life, the person whose life was saved. They both cried. It was a really tearful, wonderful moment. Sometimes we also recognise, we give out civic pride awards. So people who have been around for a long time, decades, doing really incredible stuff. So this might be, sort of civic leaders who've been making things happen for 30, 40 years, something like that. So I can think of one example. There's a man called Fred Hughes, who's in his mid-80s now, and Fred has just been, the last maybe 50, 60 years, he's been a counsellor, he's been a school governor, he's written books, he's done all kinds of incredible things. And to get him in his wheelchair now up on stage and to say thank you was a really beautiful thing. We also recognise sporting stars. So we've had some fabulous names there. So we've recognised, well, you may not know them, but a British middleweight boxer called Nathan Heaney. We had him there. We've had Jasmine Sawyers, who's just won gold at the Commonwealth Games. We've had her there. So it's a real mixed bag of all kinds of incredible people. So what we're trying to do is uplift people with both the Business Awards actually and the Heroes Awards. So for months and months and months, we have this long running campaign where I hope I'm not too boring. Every day on social media, I'm sharing these positive, uplifting stories about business successes or about ordinary people who've done incredible things. And actually, I really like being able to share both, because the business successes, sometimes they're financial, sometimes it's because they've increased turnover. They might have increased their turnover by 200% from 20 million to 40 million pounds in 1 year. And juxtaposed against that is a story about a tireless, selfless carer who gives up their time to go round and help a neighbour cook a meal, and the contrast between those two things, but both incredible. And I hope that the business stories attract businesses to look at what's happening in the business community, but then along the way, I hope they see some of those community stories as well, and I hope they feel moved by it. And similarly, some of the community stories, they might be people who haven't been successful in their career because maybe they've had a disability, or maybe something's held them back, and maybe they might feel inspired by what some other people have achieved in the business community. And I hope both sides of that might sort of spur one another on and add to one another. And of course, we're delivering this through a university. So I'm based within the University of Staffordshire. We are a civic university, so it really obviously it matters to us that our students do well, but it really matters to us that our community does well. So we're based within actually quite a deprived area within the UK. Stoke-on-Trent, it's sort of when you look at deprived cities, I think it ranks about 13th within the UK. So it is pretty deprived city. So it's important to us to be able to do anything we can to help to improve the lives of the people based around our university. So we hope that both awards campaigns help towards that as well.
So at what time in every year, this awards ceremony, actually happens?
Yes, so we launch the Business Awards every January. We have a launch event on our campus. We invite a few hundred people along to it. We usually have a sort of question and answer session on stage with a previous winner, perhaps somebody from the last year who did well. It might be somebody who's alumnus of our university who can talk about, starting from very humble beginnings and then sort of going on to something fabulous. I'm going to give you an example of that. So we have this amazing alumnus. Well, we've got many amazing alumnus, but one particular example is a man called Dr. Najam Kidwai, and I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was one of the founders of egg.com, and he is an expert in cryptocoin and all sorts of things that I don't really understand. But he has spoken really eloquently and passionately about when he was a student at University of Staffordshire, he was eating economy baked beans ingredients from the cheapest supermarket he can find. He was pretty much eating, whatever was cheapest, because he came from a poor family. He was the first person in his family to go to university, and he was sort of dragging himself through university, really. And now he is in a position where he's living in Dubai, and he and his family have a very nice lifestyle. He's founded, exited a number of businesses. He invests in various businesses, and he got to the position where he would wake up in the morning and think, where shall I fly to today? And after eating economy baked beans, he was then thinking, which Michelin starred restaurant shall I eat in today? And so he spoke about, he's I guess, gosh, if he's watching this, I don't want to insult him. He's probably late 40s now, maybe very early 50s. But in the space of a couple of decades, he's taken himself to a position of being in economic hardship to a position of economic freedom. And hearing that story, being able to tell that story to an audience at a university actually that is surrounded by some deprivation, is a really powerful thing. It's a really powerful tool. So at that launch event, we try to tell stories like that to motivate people. And then over the course of about the next 6 months, I'm telling those business stories every day, Monday to Friday. A fresh story goes out. They're all upbeat. They're all business successes. I'm basically championing business success in Stoke-on-Trent, in Staffordshire, and connected to our university around the globe. And that then in turn brings other people in who want to share their own business success. And one of the actual most beautiful things about it for me is it creates a kind of family. So once people have entered, they then visit back every day to see who else is entering, and they'll like those stories, and they might connect with those people. And it's a sort of form of networking, but it's also a sort of supportive business community that we're inviting people into. We then have a judging event in the summer, and at the minute for the 2026 awards, we're at the stage of putting the final touches to our awards event, which happens this year on the 3rd of September. So it's a black tie dinner, and we've got lots of finalists there, lots of VIPs, awards to give out, but really more than anything, brilliant business success stories to celebrate. We have an award-winning filmmaker that we work with. So all of our finalists, actually for the Business Awards and for the Heroes Awards, have a film made about them. He's a really very talented award-winning filmmaker. He actually, when he's not working for us, he works with the Michelin Food Guide. They're one of his other clients. So he's off filming some of the best chefs around Europe, and filming their food, filming them at work in their kitchens. So we're very lucky to have his time. So he makes a short film about every finalist. For the businesses, this is actually a really powerful tool, because for a few months following the awards evening, we then share those videos every day. So it gives them another PR hit after the evening. So even if they're not the overall winner on the evening, they then have a film shared about them across social media. They can put that out on their own websites. They can share that out to their mailing list, to their social media accounts. It keeps our campaign running really for about 12 months after we've shared those films. And our heroes, we make little films about them as well, and again we share those after our awards evening, just to show people the incredible people within our community and the amazing things that they're doing. And hopefully it's a wonderful source of pride for them, and they enjoy having their story told. And it just reminds them that they're not going unseen, that people recognise them, and that they're, they may not be employing hundreds of people, or turning over millions of pounds in a business, but what they're doing, what they're contributing, whether it's litter picking or caring for somebody, is really valuable, and we appreciate it.
So what are the countries that, I mean, is it global, or, is it only limited to UK? And what are the industries that participate in this awards? And uh, yeah, and what is the scale of the businesses that, come into these awards?
Oh, so the business awards, They're largely from the Midlands in Staffordshire, but the University of Staffordshire has a huge global alumni network. So not only do students who've studied in the UK go off and set up businesses right around the globe, we also have some partner institutions around the world in different places. So one example, Sri Lanka, but we've got a partner institution there. So some people will study there, they'll have their degree through University of Staffordshire, and then they'll be setting up businesses in whichever countries they end up in around the world. So we do often have entries for the Business Awards globally, and sometimes it'll be a business that's been established in Staffordshire, but it might have franchised around the world, or it might be operating around the world. It might have opened offices in other parts of Europe or Asia, etc. So it's very, very often that we have global businesses there. In terms of the size of those businesses, that varies vastly. So we have a Startup Business of the Year category, which tends to be businesses established within the last 2 years. They are, of course, because they're very new, generally much smaller. Sometimes they might still be a one-man band, a one-person business, or they might have started to grow. So in this year's Startup Business of the Year category, we already have some businesses with £1 million plus turnover. So that shows you just how rapidly they've grown. But then we have businesses that are entering that might have £100 million plus turnover, which for our part of the UK is pretty big turnover. In terms of industries, varies really dramatically. Our traditional industry is ceramics in Staffordshire. So we do have some interesting ceramics businesses that have entered. They tend to be quite small, actually, the ceramics businesses that enter. We have some huge engineering businesses that have entered. So we've got a business called Capula, which is huge. It operates right across the UK and overseas. It's got hundreds of employees, so that's entered. We've got another engineering business called KMF, again huge business, hundreds and hundreds of employees, one of the biggest engineering firms in the UK. We have a lovely category for apprentices, which is very nice indeed. So many entries for that. So lots of businesses will put an apprentice forward, perhaps their highest achieving apprentice, or an apprentice that's really overcome a thing. So one of our apprentice entrants this year, nominees this year, has actually been battling a very serious illness and has been going through chemotherapy, but was determined to continue with her apprenticeship and was determined to graduate. So has been able to do that despite going through some really very difficult, life-changing medical treatment. We've got other apprentices actually who are quite senior. So we do senior leadership apprenticeships. So we've got actually two from different fire services, but we've got two different women who are both very senior, one within Cheshire Fire and Rescue Service and one within Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service, who've both been nominated, and they've been doing senior leadership apprenticeships. Now, one of those, the one who works at Staffordshire, is a lady called Michelle Hickmott, and interestingly, she was a Lioness footballer. So she represented the UK as a footballer, played internationally. She was part of the team that had a win against Norway. So that's a really interesting story. And not only is she, really high achieving, I think she's just been made Deputy Chief Fire Officer for Staffordshire, but she's also, a former international footballer. And the lady who is and she's just completed an apprenticeship with Cheshire Fire and Rescue Service, very senior within that fire brigade, and she's had a massive success with bringing in more female firefighters. So I think she's taken them from quite low ranking in terms of the number of female firefighters within the UK to within the sort of top 5, I think, for a number of female firefighters. She's done that through all kinds of different sort of buddying and mentorship schemes to encourage women to join what has traditionally been quite a male-dominated profession. So whilst we are shouting about business success stories and turnovers and growth and increases in number of employees and earnings, etc., what we're also doing is shouting about those often quieter success stories. I should also mention as well that we've got an innovation category within the Business Awards. So again, able to tell some really phenomenal stories within that. So I'll tell you about a couple of different examples. So we've got a business called Stafford Engineering Services Limited. Now they're quite a small business still, based in Stafford, the county town in Staffordshire. I think they still only have about 11 employees, but they've come up with a really cool innovation, and it's for ambulances. So ambulances, not just in the UK, but around the globe. They've sold a load of these into ambulance services in Australia. So what it does, it's again, I'm telling you things that I'm not an expert in, but I'll tell you my understanding of it. It is a sort of racking device, I believe, to hold AED, so defibrillator equipment within ambulances. They came up with a new way of doing it, and now it's gone global. And they still only have about 11 members of staff. So they've designed it, they've put it through R&D, they're manufacturing it, and they're marketing it, they're selling it globally. Incredible success story. Another story is an innovation success story is a company called Valentine Clays. Now they've been operating in Staffordshire in our ceramics industry for about 40 years now. What they do is supply clay to the ceramics industry. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a TV show called Pottery Throwdown, the British Pottery Throwdown. It's huge in the UK. It's a long-running show where members of the public compete to be named as master potter. So they make ceramics. But anyway, Valentine Clays provide the clay for that. That's one of their claims to fame. But what they've done is they have innovated a type of clay that can be fired at a lower temperature. So it's a type, I believe, of earthenware that can be fired at a lower temperature, which saves a lot of money. There's a huge issue within the ceramics industry in the UK, perhaps globally at the minute, with the cost of energy and the fact that earthenware has to be fired at a particularly high temperature. So Valentine Clays have innovated and they've created this type of clay, earthenware clay, that can be fired at a lower temperature, which is saving money, it's better for the environment, and this company in Staffordshire are the first people to do it. And we're able to tell their story, which is a beautiful privilege.
So all these businesses that participate in these awards and how it will be useful for them?
How is it useful for them? Well, it's a PR exercise. So there are lots of things that they gain, businesses gain from being part of the Business Awards. Even if they aren't a finalist, and actually many businesses aren't a finalist. We have about 35 finalists, I think, this year, out of many hundreds that enter. What they get is free PR. So it's completely free to enter, costs them nothing, very easy to enter. They just go onto our website, fill in a super quick, easy form, and then I hopefully help them to do the rest. So I speak to them. I'm a trained journalist. I've been a journalist for a really long time, more than 25 years. So I sometimes I'll speak to them on the phone. I might do a Teams call. I might meet them in person. I'll interview them about their business. I'll find out more about how they started, what their USP is, what sort of stands out, what they've been doing, what the last 12 months has looked like, perhaps what their turnover looks like, what their plans are for the future, where they're heading, and I'll encapsulate all of that in an article for them. It might be sort of 500-600 words, something like that. For a lot of businesses, actually, it might be the first time anyone's done that for them. So they might be quite a new business that hasn't had anyone interview them before, or some of their business, or put an about you together for them. So having that article, having that PR is a thing in itself. We then share that. We share that on a website. We share that across social media. We encourage other people to share it. Those stories exist in perpetuity on the internet for people to access at any time. So So that in itself is a really cool thing. They then become part of a business community. So we have a number of events that we stage during the process that they can be part of. So we have drinks events, we have events where our entrants can get together. They sometimes make friends with one another on the internet. They see stories about one another. They share. They when they come along to the awards evening itself, they're part of a really beautiful event. Our finalists come along for free. We don't charge them. So again, it's a really, well, so it's pretty much, it can be a free experience for them to be part of. They have a professional film made about them if they're a finalist by an award-winning filmmaker who is really good. So they can have that film afterwards. And then they get, if they're a winner, the pleasure of being named a University of Staffordshire Business Awards winner. So they get a trophy, they get framed certificates, and they get the kudos. So a lot of people will choose to put it in their email footer if they're a Business Awards winner. Certificates will be up on walls. There's a lot of shouting about being part of that success. A lot of winners will choose to come back again. They'll choose to enter the following year. Sometimes they might leave it a year and say, no, we'll give somebody else a chance. Sometimes a business will win and then say, actually, we're going to step back now. We might be involved in the awards in another way by perhaps encouraging other people to enter. Or sometimes people win and then they decide to become a sponsor because they want to help facilitate other people to be a part of something like the business awards. Sometimes are really lucky and they might step away from the business awards and say, actually, we'd really like to support the Your Heroes Awards because we're successful and we like the idea of helping to build up people within the community and helping to make them feel good about themselves and tell them how awesome we think they are. So it all kind of, for us, works together as a kind of sort of symbiotic, supportive community, and hopefully helps to make good things happen. So my role in it is I like to think of myself as the kind of storyteller in it, but also I like to think of myself as a connector. So I make friends with businesses, I encourage them to be part of the business awards, but also sometimes I'm speaking to somebody and I might say, that's really interesting. I spoke to another business that does something similar, or they might be able to work with you. Can I introduce you? Or I might say, oh, you work in a particular field. We've got academics in that field who might be able to feed into your work, who might be able to support you. Sometimes we're incredibly lucky that businesses that we talk to might be looking to recruit graduates, and we've even had instances where graduates from the university have been able to go and work for some of the businesses who've come into us via the business awards. So it's beautiful, really, and it's a lovely way for me. I still consider myself a journalist, although I don't work for a newspaper, and I'm still able to use those skills and hopefully put them to good use to help people.
So how is government support for this?
Do we have any government support? We don't. Well, we don't have official government support for this, but we do have MPs. So within North Staffordshire, we have some very active members of Parliament. So our 3 Stoke-on-Trent members of Parliament are supportive of ours. A member of Parliament for Newcastle under Lyme is supportive of ours. So they will often come along to our events, and sometimes they'll present awards. They'll be there in the audience to applaud, and very often they will send well done letters. They'll send congratulatory letters on headed houses of Parliament letterheads, on that sort of handwritten letters to our winners, to thank them. Having a handwritten letter from your local MP, member of Parliament, is quite a big deal for a lot of our winners. So that will often happen. We also have some backing from our local authorities. So local councils will will often back what we do. So for many years, we've had the backing of Stoke-on-Trent City Council, which we've been incredibly thankful for. We also have the backing of Staffordshire County Council. We have the backing of Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council, as well as many different businesses. You know, they recognise what we do, and they recognise how this lifts people up and how or it draws attention to positive success stories in our area. Now, we're aware of a lot of business awards happening within the UK. It's not unusual for business awards to happen. But what we think we're quite unusual in that we tell stories along the way. So we're not aware of another business awards that tells a daily story about its entrance and that makes a film about its entrance. We think that makes us quite unique, and we think that's quite an interesting model. So if anyone is watching this around the UK, around the globe, and thinks, wow, that's a really interesting model, I'd be interested in finding out more about how that works. I'm really happy to engage with people, you know, wherever they are, if they're in the UK or globally, who'd be interested in finding out how our awards work, how they might be able to introduce a similar model. Come and chat to me. I'm very, very happy to share. We don't keep it all to ourselves. If our model can help people in other areas, if it can, you know, highlight success stories elsewhere, then let's do it.
So there will be a lot of business leaders and founders and owners will be watching this conversation. So what do you say about your work to my audience?
Okay, well, Brithy, thank you for listening to me. I hope you're still here. I hope I haven't bored you. Please come and connect with me on LinkedIn. I share loads of stories, loads of success stories about businesses, but also heartwarming stories about people who are just quietly doing amazing things. Sometimes you get to that point in the day when you've had some annoying emails or somebody has said some sort of crossword to you, or you just need to be lifted up. You know what? You don't need a coffee to lift you up. You don't need a cake to lift you up. What you need is a little slice of positivity to lift you up. Come and visit my LinkedIn page. Read a positive story. Be uplifted by that. And I hope it inspires you to look out for positives. I hope it inspires you to seek positive business success stories and positive human success stories within your area, within your city, within your country. Please connect with those people, maybe help them to tell their story. Let's all help to lift other people up, because if we lift other people up, then we're raising everyone, aren't we?
So can you spell the website so that they can, my podcast listeners can understand and go through it?
Absolutely. So we have two different websites. So the Business Awards website is STAFFS, that's SPAFFS, BIZAWARDS. So that's staffsbizawards.co.uk. And the Your Heroes Awards is YOURHEROESAWARDS. So that's yourheroesawards.co.uk. So please visit those and visit the websites. You'll find out more about the everything that we're doing on there. You can read through some of the back history of stories on there, or we're quite prolific across social media as well.
So at last, as a journalist, as a person who's interacting with a lot of businesses and writing articles and presenting their their journey and participating in different events and also seeing million dollars businesses, teams from all over the world. As a journalist, also worked in multiple domains. So what's your observation about my work?
I mean, what a wonderful job! What a wonderful job! You're speaking to some incredible people right around the globe, and then I hope some of those people come back and watch your other interviews and connect with one another. And it's very easy to connect with people in your local community, isn't it? In your local city, it's so much harder to reach out to people in other parts of the world. And you're doing that. You're a connector, aren't you? And you're telling fabulous stories and you're helping to bring people together. So I think that's a wonderful job, and I envy you a little bit. If you want any guest presenters, please ask me. I'd love to do it.
So I have done masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm working as a DevOps engineer for a London company, remotely from India. So that's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you, businesses, and more than 200 chief executive officers of different businesses, and more than 100 countries experts I have interviewed, and I have more than 40,000 following on social media internationally. So, um, so I have many business owners in the in the row coming up in the next upcoming interviews who are very credible and who has created their own impact in the market in their countries and created a lot of wealth and being inspiration and solving different problems in different industries coming from different backgrounds and experiences. So I'm going diversified uh, people. I'm trying to present them as a journalist. You have already done that, a lot in your life, and I'm doing the same. And I chosen a bigger area, a, globally, a bigger area. So all this kind of a diversified conversations and interviewing direct leaders and presenting them and uh, asking them the right questions and presenting it to my audience, how this is going to be helpful for me as personally and to my career and also to the listeners and to the world who will be watching and listening to this on all the platforms. Your observation.
It's an incredibly powerful thing that you're doing there. I mean, you've got a direct insight into some of the most successful people in the world, haven't you? Some of the wealth creators and the job makers and the people who are in their own country, in their own city, in their own region, on unlocking opportunities for people. Gosh, across those hundreds of people that you've interviewed, there are probably tens of thousands of people who've had jobs created for them, and entire economies that have been supported. And you've had an insight into those people, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what advice they'd give. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, Sai, but have you thought about writing a book? Perhaps looking across, you have thought about it, I can tell. Looking across each of those interviews and drawing a few insights from each of those, I'd be interested in reading that. I'm sure other people would too. Global business insights from some of the world's leading CEOs. That would be an incredible read.
Yes, um, I have an author. Like I have interviewed a lot of authors from United States, and who actually told me that they want to write a book about all the experiences, all the conversations that I had from different humans, coming from different backgrounds. So I have done 860 interviews till now. After 4,000 interviews, I think I will have something very impactful to tell to the world and to to you know to say something very useful to the planet. I know this is already what I have done is is good, but still world is so big, 830 crore people around the world. So it's huge. So in order for me to write a book, I have to say something that like how you are bringing unsung heroes and giving them awards and giving them a space and giving them recognition, right? So many people don't know until you spot them and presenting them, right? So there are so many businesses that are successful in a lot of countries, 190 plus countries. So created their own impact and did, solve the problems. So I think if I can able to bring diversified businesses from diversified countries, so I think there is something that, humans can able to learn from it, because you will learn a lot from diversity. So, right. So I want to, tap more market and connect to more different humans. And I have my guests are amazing already. The guests I have in a row, I believe that I have a compliment that I have very good choice, in choosing the right guest for my podcast. So since I have a great educational background and I have leadership qualities, I was into sports and I played for a top sport in my country. I was a cricketer. So yeah, so that is helping me. That this is the answer for the books that you said. And another question that I have is. How this kind of I mean I have interviewed police officers, doctors, psychologists, and marine biologists, and NASA scientists, and for an expert who is working for aerospace industry. I have interviewed completely different industry experts. Uh, who are working in different things. And me coming from a technological background, having a technology experience, engineering experience, coming from technology industry, what do you think that is working for me in order to, go into other subjects and other industries and trying to understand their uh, subject expertise and knowledge and, uh, asking them the right questions and presenting it. I mean, what are those qualities that, as a journalist, you must have that, right? So, what do you think those qualities are that are helping me and that is actually useful for me in future?
I think rather than a specific technical knowledge, because your audience could be from any field, couldn't they? So you're not specifically speaking to an audience with an interest in AI or engineering or any one particular branch of any of those things. What you need to, I think, interview in quite a broad way so that people with any background can watch it and be interested in it. I know nothing really about technology or about engineering, but I might be interested in your interviews because of the human element of it. So what I think probably your background gives you is an inquisitiveness. It gives you a desire to understand and to know and to ask questions and to probe and to ask more questions and to ask more questions and to keep asking until you fully understand, until you feel you've got to the bottom of something. So rather than a specific set of knowledge, it's more the desire to find out more and the desire to understand.
So, finally, your words about the work that you're doing and people who wants to know more about your work. Do you have final words to that?
Well, firstly, thank you again for listening to me. I hope that the things that I've been talking about, shouting about business success stories and shouting about unsung heroes, aren't actually unusual to the people watching this. I hope that somewhere in different parts of the world there are ways to celebrate these types of people. I'd love to know that, but I think perhaps it isn't happening. I think we are quite unusual. And I would say that if listening to me, listening to what we're doing has inspired you, be inspired. Go and do it. Go and raise other people up. Shout about their success stories. It doesn't have to mean starting your own awards campaign to celebrate business successes. Just lift somebody up on social media or lift somebody up in the office. Go and tell somebody how well they've done. Go and share somebody else's success story on social media. Go and pay it forward. Go and pay some positivity forward. That's what I'd say.
So, can I put this clip on my podcast with your permission?
Sorry, could you say that again, Sai?
Can I put this clip on my podcast with your permission?
Absolutely, please do that. Please do that, or any clips with them that will be fine.
Sure. Thank you very much again, Jenny, for giving me opportunity to present you on my podcast and letting me ask you some questions and telling us about how you are working and how you are helping businesses all around the world and giving them the recognition and not from a small scale or large scale. You are bringing all kinds of businesses and I believe that a lot of business leaders that who are watching this, get to know about this, and definitely, you get more. Your contribution will help a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals on this planet with this conversation. I tried.
Oh, that's beautiful. Keep going with your work. It's really valuable. Please keep going. I'll look out for the book.
Thank you, Jenny. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.